there, it's Krystal Lee Moore Lucier here, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore, and I'm here to talk to you about when to list when you're selling your house. So right now in London, Ontario, things have gotten a little bit confusing. We went from having a crazy market at the beginning of 2022. And then in April, it sort of sharply dipped down. And that happened for a few reasons. So it happened because the COVID restrictions started to go away. And unfortunately, as beautiful as London is, it is 2 hours away from the GTA. So if you're called back to work, you can no longer just commute to your living room, and 4 hours a day in your car just for the commute is a long time. Interest rates started to go up. They're still historically low, but they did start to go up. And then also our housing shortage, which is still a thing, is still driving the market, but we're having a lot fewer of the out-of-town buyers. And in a city like London, those were the people that were driving prices up because we had more buyers than we had property. Officially, we might still be in a seller's market as a province, but I can tell you in London, things have slowed down a little bit. So what does that mean? When to list? Does it mean you shouldn't list your house? Absolutely not. Our prices are still fantastic. In 2017, I believe the average price of a detached home in London was sitting around $350. And in 2021, it was about $750, which is more than double. At the beginning of this year, it was hitting kind of the $950 mark. And then now it's closer to the $750 again. So really, it's a great time. And the key though, when do you do it? So when do you list? Is any time a good time? Is there a bad time? What do you do? I'm here to help, and let's get started. So pretty much, buy first or sell first is the question that most people have. So it really depends on a few things. It depends on the reason that you're selling. Are you selling because of a job relocation? Are you selling because you need to have a new house before a baby comes? Or are you selling because you didn't plan to sell, but then you found another house you loved? It really depends. In a really busy market, when things are going really quickly, we usually suggest that people buy first because buying tends to be harder in those markets. And then when things flip around a little bit, we say, you know what, maybe you sell first and then you buy. Because the concern when it's really busy and going crazy is that you'll sell your house and it'll be easy to sell, but then you won't have anywhere to go. And in reverse, the problem with a slower market is that if you do buy and then try to sell, it might take you longer, or you might not get as much as you had hoped for your home. So either way, we can walk you through it. It really depends on a case-by-case basis. But when things are a little slower, I usually recommend selling first and giving yourself a longer closing date or a longer closing period. Pro tip from myself and most of my realtor friends will usually buy first with a long closing. But that's usually because we're part of the biz and we're figuring, hey, give ourselves enough time. We know it can happen, but we all have a lot of backup plans in place too. So when is real estate spring? So you'll hear people say, oh, I want to list in the spring, or realtors saying, oh, it's going to be busy in the spring. A lot of us take our vacations before the spring. So what is spring? Is it the spring that happens in April? No. So real estate spring in Southern Ontario and in Ontario tends to be kind of the beginning of, let's say, February, and it goes all the way till the end of May. So February to May, that's the real estate spring, and that's kind of the busiest time. The pro here is that when you're listing at the busiest time, you are getting the most amount of buyers out. There's a buzz in the air, it's getting warmer, we're climbing out of Canadian winter, and it's really a great time. Downside, of course, is that you're competing with more properties. So more properties might be available and you won't necessarily have kind of the supply and demand situation where there's fewer homes to buy. So buyers will kind of flock to your house. So the key, obviously, is to make sure that you are doing everything the right way. Speak to us. We have a really great marketing system and presentation and preparation. And we basically check all the boxes to make sure that your home is presented really well. And we typically say, if you are open to listing anytime, the real estate spring is the time to do it. Let's say you want to sell though, and you missed the real estate spring. What do? Or do you have to wait till the next year? You don't. So there's a second spring. When is the second spring? Second spring for real estate actually happens in like September, October to mid-November. And why don't we just call it fall? Because we're fun and we're realtors. So second spring is people kind of get all excited and summer's over, school's back. And I don't know about you guys, but even after I've been out of school for longer than I actually want to admit, because I loved school and I loved going back to school in September. I still buy school supplies. There's a buzz in the air. Kind of the lazy days of summer and vacations are kind of behind us. It's going to start getting colder and people are just like gearing to go. So second spring, September, kind of right after Labor Day, all the way to mid-November. I remember though, in 2021, second spring sort of started the week before Labor Day, which I thought was interesting. But you're pretty safe to say after Labor Day, because you have more people that they're serious about buying and they're good to go. Anyone that was trying to buy to have their kids in school, they're, I guess, maybe either going to wait or it's less urgent. So you really want to get that market of people who are excited. And again, there will be more competition, but it's still a great time. You can also list and sell in other periods of time. It just depends. I believe there's an investor show that talks about investors should buy in January because other buyers don't want to trudge through the snow, and that's when you can get your best deals. So it really depends, but talk to us. We'll let you know kind of what the best situation and scenario is for you. And the key is just to make sure that you're comfortable and ready. So don't rush if you don't have to, but if you are trying to hit a deadline, kind of, I'd say March 1st and September 1st are good, or September 8th, whenever after Labor Day is, those are great times. So then closing date options. So what if you list in one of these places or times and you need more time or you need less time, or what can we do? So closing dates on average can be anywhere between, let's say, 2.5 to 3 weeks to, I've had one for 6 months before for a client. And it really depends. It's a term of negotiation, and depending on who's having the advantage. So when it was crazy, the sellers kind of got to dictate what that meant. And now buyers are kind of having a little more power in the closing day time. But really, you just want to make sure everything can get done and try to match those dates up. And it's stressful to match the dates up. So if you're selling and buying and closing on the same day, you are waiting kind of in a line of dominoes for everyone to get ready so that you can actually have your new keys in your hand and your old house is closed and the money's been transferred and everything's good. And it can be a very frustrating day. It is the most inexpensive way to do it, but there is that way. Another way to do it is, let's say you close on your new house on June 15th and your old house closes on June 20th. You can do something called bridge financing. I am not going to try to explain bridge financing to you on here, but you can speak to your lender. I can connect you with some great mortgage specialists. And bridge financing just basically means that the bank's going to lend you some money to cover the 2 properties for the 5 days or whatever you pick. It can get a little pricey if you go higher than just a few days, but I'm sure that that's a fun conversation for you to have with a lender. And last but not least, you want to make sure that you give your lawyer and your bank enough time to get everything done. So I say 3 weeks as a minimum for the closing, because otherwise I feel like the lawyers will not be happy. And you need lawyers. We all need lawyers for everything, but you need lawyers to close the house, and they have to have the time to do what they need to do. So all that to say, closing date options are all available. It's a term of negotiation and we can help you out with that. But really, The best time to sell is whenever you're ready to sell. Chat with us. Real estate spring number 1, real estate spring number 2, and there are different options that we can choose for you, and we can work that out together. So please reach out if you have more questions. I'm Krystal Lee Moore Lucier, also known as your Home Sweet Home 519 Realtor, Krystal Lee Moore, and I hope you have a fantastic day.